Hello. While we're waiting for our cane to chill out just a little bit and firm up a bit, I wanted to show you the combination for the inside of the dragon fruit. It's just a tiny bit of white and a lot of translucent. That's all the white you need. And then what we do is mix it. And to add all the little seeds, you use black sand. So here's just some black designer sand. You could pick it up from places like Michael's or Joann's, and it's literally just putting your mixed clay into a little bit of sand, and then you mix the clay in. So I'll go ahead and do that with this so you can see it. It's not really very difficult, it's just mixing it all in. And the reason we use all that translucent is so you can see all of those little specks, and some of them are not right on the surface. The ones that are right on the surface that I just added right now are like these little guys, but you could see shadows of ones a little bit deeper than the surface, and I figured that is most appropriate for the dragon fruit. And so you can see what happens. Okay, so that should be pretty easy. So that's something that you can prepare while your cane starts getting firm. And then what you can do once you have this is you're going to want to roll a ball of some of the white mixture, but you're going to want it a little bit smaller than the finished size of your dragon fruit because there are a couple layers we put on it. So what we're going to start with is a little ball of the white, and let me get rid of my sand here. Got all over my work surface. And here's some of that pink color that we used in our cane. You roll that into a ball and you smash it flat. So I'll do that real quick. Another thing that you can do with it is if you have a pasta roller, you can do a circle cutout that's larger than the ball and wrap that around, and that will make sure that it's the same thickness throughout, so it looks a little bit cleaner and not sloppy. But you don't have to have a pasta roller to do this part. I mean, it definitely helps if you have that, if you need to do that Skinner blend, and you can. But I sandwich the clay around the inside. Same way I do truffles, of course different clay colors. So from here I'm going to roll it back into a ball, making sure that I've covered up all the white insides. As long as that's done, it's cool. My little guy's in the background today, so you can probably hear him in the back. And then we're doing kind of like a fat, somewhat egg shape. I start rolling it a little pointed towards the top. I'm twisting it with my index and thumb as I just open and close my other finger just to keep it in place as I am twisting. And then when I have about the right shape, I just inspect it. That looks good to me. So there we are. So now our little ball here is just about ready to cover with our canes. So I'm going to go ahead and put this little guy in the refrigerator now too, since he's fairly soft. And we'll be back with the cane and this in just a few moments. Thanks. Hey guys, here we are at the end of our dragon fruits. And it's just going to be putting the leaves on our little fat teardrop shape and slicing it open and adding a few more seeds. So I let it chill a little bit, but my cane is still pretty soft. There's two ways you could do this. You could take a thick section of cane and you can quarter it. going to start giving you a little example here. And instead of actually quartering it, I will take a little bit of narrower slices, and you can shape these into the petal shapes of the size that you want. And take thin slices. This would normally be a much thicker set of cane. Or you can take a real thin slice, like this, and cut your petals from there. Cutting them almost in thirds is pretty good to keep the bottom of the petal from being too outrageous in size. And if you do that, you can rock the bottom back and forth to kind of give it a softer petal shape in the back. I pinch it just to help make sure that it's nice and together well, and then I will pull with my index finger to really elongate the green section of the leaf. So there we have our leaf, and we would be putting it on our dragon fruit. Now I'll show you, when you do a section of cane, it looks more like this, and you can pinch and elongate however long you want. I have one side of the cane a lot shorter and one side of the cane a lot longer, and I did that on purpose. It just depends on how large you want your dragon fruits. So I'm going to take some slices off. And I do them in sections of 4. And I do 3 rows of 4. To finish this off, I have the yellow portion up towards the very, very tippy top. And the thinner and more delicate you're able to create your leaves, the more realistic it will look. I like the tops a little bit wider, but then I do 2 more layers. I do one where it comes up here. Hold on a sec. I'll do a couple more slices just so you see. So I do 2 more layers, but usually I like elongating the leaves. And if you're doing smaller dragon fruits, I really suggest doing it with the cane slices like we did before, where we cut them in thirds. Just depends on what kind of look you want. My little guy is running around and having a good time, so you could probably hear him in the background like this whole time, but I had no other time to film our dragon fruits. So basically, I'd normally spend a little bit more time shaping the petals. And it would look better if I actually took the time to shape the petals and did them with the smaller cutouts of the cane like I showed earlier, where we take a thin slice and then shape the cane out of the third sets. That would look far, far prettier and more delicate. And then if you have any seams that are showing, I left one here on purpose. See how the petal right above ends? You could take a pin or a toothpick and you can roll it underneath that seam, and that will smooth it to the body of our piece below, so you won't be able to actually see the seam anymore. So there we go. And I actually do like the smaller petals that we form by hand, each one out of the thin slivers that we sliced in thirds, but I wanted to show you that way and this way just for speed and ease, to show you what the 2 different options are. And then what you're going to want to do is chop it in half. I try to keep from letting the tops, the top portions of leaves, I try to keep them from becoming solid. And then you can twist the leaves and play with the inside of the leaves once you chop our little fruit open. This particular one does not have very many seeds on the inside. This one has a little bit more. No, Bubba, please keep the bubbles outside. But that is fixable, guys. Here I have sand. What you can do is get the tip of your toothpick wet, and then you place it down. But what I would suggest doing first, if I could find it again, here it is, it's right next to me. Okay, so what I'd suggest doing, and you want to do this when it's firm and not too soft, but I would texture the inside with a toothbrush. Roughen it up so it's not shiny. And then continue putting seeds on top. And this is just the black sand that we had mixed in earlier. And they have different sizes of grains in the sand. They'll have some slightly larger and some slightly smaller. I press it in, and then after it's done baking, what I do is actually I put some gloss glaze on it. I'm using triple thick now. I have been since before I started doing the tutorials, but I don't usually mention the glazes. So I take some triple thick and I put it on, but I tap it with my finger to try to break up the shininess of the surface. You could even put little tiny bits on sporadically in certain places, and that will help give it a more realistic texture. But I choose to coat it on top of the white portion with the gloss glaze to protect the sand and keep the sand from falling off. And I tap it to rough up the surface so you're not getting just a solid shine. And you can even, after doing that, as long as you feel like cleaning your toothbrush after putting the glaze on, you could take a regular toothbrush or a paintbrush and just tap a few times, and that will also help with that. And it seems like the seeds aren't in a consistent spread out pattern, but that you'll see some really close to each other, some not so close to each other. If you mix it like this, most of the pieces will have quite a lot in them, so you won't have to put as much as we are right now. This particular leaf is very thick, but I would twist them, give a little bit more of a visual interest there. You have a couple leaves. I didn't place the bottom one on this half. You want to do the 4 rows first before you slice it up, but I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial. I did all the leaves. As you can see, there's 3 rows of 4 leaves. Here we go. I did 3 sets of 4 leaves across the whole thing. I divided the leaves on top in half and sliced straight down. And that's when we went inside. And I wish that this camera was a little bit better at showing you the texture, because just that tiny bit of white and all the sand inside does give a really nice texture. And then for more realism, I'd even say put in little tiny streaks, and you could come in with like a softer, maybe a mauve or a purplish pastel, and let it fill in some of the little creases and wipe the rest clean away, and it will still remain mostly pink. But those little tiny bits of the darker paint that's set in the creases and crevices will give a really nice look. You could also do that with a darker green towards the tops of the leaves if you take time, so you can make it look more realistic than this. I just thought this was a really fun fruit and I wanted to try it. I hope that you guys really enjoyed it, and I will be talking to you guys again soon with another fruit or vegetable tutorial. Thanks.